On this episode of Lapeef, Let's Talk.
To prevent goddamn motherfucking stepping on a piece of glass. We would go to the corner store. You know what I'm saying? We do certain things to prevent these things. So you know what? If you getting hit by a stray bullet, I ain't see no stray bullets out here. I'm just keeping it funky.
That's because you're on the top floor.
But yeah.
But I mean, you could use a scenario for anything, right? Like, for example, a year ago, over in Miami, a building just randomly collapsed because of the structural, the failure of inspectors and the structural integrity of the building.
That's terrible,
right? Like, that's another example of a stray bullet just illustrated differently in an environment where people may have been safe or thought that they were safe. But what was the lesson for the people that the bullet that the building collapsed on? Right?
And
Richland happens over in California, and
I believe that everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
People change so that you can learn to let go. Things go wrong so that you can learn to appreciate them when they're right. And sometimes good things fall apart so better things can fall together.
That's my guy, Inky Johnson. I love Inky. He dope.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason. So most of the panel says y'all believe that.
Yeah.
So you guys kind of just like whatever comes your way, you don't trip at all because everything happens.
Oh,
for
no, that's not what that means.
No.
It can also.
Go ahead, Kayla.
No, go ahead. I'll wait till I come back. Go ahead.
I mean, philosophically, all right, that particular phrase, if we're going to kind of go religious with it, people think all of their good omens and blessings come from God only. But you don't realize that a lot of the bad stuff, a lot of the troubles in your life can also come from him or, the higher power that you believe. So I think that's really how it's defined. Everything happens for a reason, even the bad stuff. I embrace personally everything that happens to me. Anything that can happen in somebody's career has happened to me, and it has molded me into the person that I am today, the professional I am today, the way I manage employees, the way I function in my own business. So I would definitely be a big believer that everything happens for a reason. And the advice that I would give to people is stop focusing on only the good things. Like, you can't get lessons out of getting your ass whooped by life, because that's really where the magic happens. That's where change happens. So that's what I got on it right now.
I agree with Trigger. People harp on the negative things too much. Even when it comes to relationship, people are a lesson or a blessing, or they could be both, right? And sometimes people want to point the fingers at their exes, but they don't want to take accountability and have self-awareness. And I believe every person that came in my life it taught me something. So I definitely agree with that statement.
So I do agree with this. I believe everything happens for a reason. And sometimes those reasons are because you're stupid and you made a stupid decision. Sometimes there is a deeper reason that you may never know directly, but you feel and whatever. But I do think that sometimes this sentiment could be used as a scapegoat for people not looking into the actual reasons on why some things happen. So in terms of people utilizing that as a finesse past accountability, I don't agree with that. But in terms of like trusting God or whatever you believe in, that whatever that situation was, like it propelled you to the next thing, or it kept you from something that may have hurt you, or whatever it is, that I do definitely agree with. But sometimes that reason is that you're dumb as fuck and you did something dumb,
I don't think that everything happens for a reason. The word specifically says that it rains on the just and the unjust. There's not always a logical reason as to why things are happening to you. That's just the way that life goes. It's not always a justifiable reason, but I think that us as humans, we try to make sense of things, and we think that the center of the universe, to a larger extent, even if it's just in our mind and we don't openly admit it, evolves around us. Right? Life only began when we were born, and life only ends when we die. Right? The only thing that matters is us, which is why we have the word being selfish, because If it didn't happen to me, then it's not relevant. It's similar to the different issues that we go throughout society and life. And it's not relevant to us because it's not directly on our doorstep. But then when it gets on our doorstep, then it becomes an issue that everybody needs to participate in because the world revolves around us. It's not always about anything happening to us or for us or to inform us to move any differently. That's just literally how life goes sometimes. And we try to capitalize or not off of the circumstance, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you are any more relevant because of it or not.
All right. Anybody else want to chime in on the concept everything happens for a reason?
I think sometimes I've been guilty of kind of saying that, but I think sometimes we say it based off of certain circumstances when things don't kind of work out the way we wanted them to. We'd be real quick to be like, oh, everything happens for a reason. Like, no, maybe you didn't apply yourself to get the results that you were looking for. But it's so easy to just be like, everything happens for a reason, instead of, like, to piggyback off of what Kayla said, having that true accountability and accepting things for what it is, and not just using that term, that phrase, as an excuse to just be mediocre. Honestly,
I'm sure at some point throughout the night, somewhere in America, there's going to be a stray bullet that hit somebody. What was the reason behind that? What's the lesson in that for that guy that got hit with that stray bullet?
Move out the hood.
Well, the bullet already hit him.
Well, guess what? That's the lesson.
For him.
I mean, that's what I mean when it's like not everything happens for, you know what I'm saying?
That's my point, and I agree with you.
Reason some things I think we are even meant not to know, even as human beings in our consciousness. I think there are some things that we are just not meant to really know, and the random acts like that sometimes are those things you may not know until you pass on.
But Anton, what's this? Why you get a financial advisor?
Why do people get a financial advisor?
Yeah.
So that they can manage their finances more effectively.
Yeah. And you know what I'm saying? Prevent
Our money.
Okay. So look, we do things to prevent certain things from happening to us. We move to the good neighborhoods, the what? To prevent our kids from being dumb. Right? To prevent goddamn motherfucking stepping on a piece of glass. We would go to the corner store. You know what I'm saying? We do certain things to prevent these things. So you know what? If you getting hit by a stray bullet, I ain't see no stray bullets out here. I'm just keeping it funky.
That's because you're on the top 4.
But yeah.
But I mean, you could use a scenario for anything, right? Like, for example, a year ago, over in Miami, a building just randomly collapsed because of the structural, the failure of inspectors and the structural integrity of the building.
That was terrible,
right? Like, that's another example of a stray bullet just illustrated differently in an environment where people may have been safe or thought that they were safe. But what was the lesson for the people that the bullet that the building collapsed on? Right?
And
Earthquake happens over in California, and